What if I told you that the silence of a survivor is not a sign of defeat, but the sound of a predator-proof soul being forged in the fires of the unconscious? You see, we are often told that the aftermath of a toxic relationship is a period of fragility, a time where the empath is broken. But if we look through the lens of Carl Jung's work on alchemy and individuation, we find a story not of destruction, but of a leaden spirit being transmuted into psychological gold. Jung believed that the soul is not a thing, but a process, and for the empath who has been betrayed, that process is nothing short of a rebirth into a higher form of consciousness. Most people view the post-toxic state as one of depletion. However, Jung's research into the transcendent function suggests that when the ego is shattered by a traumatic relationship, it creates a vacuum that the unconscious must fill with new, more resilient structures. This is where the empath transitions from being a giver to becoming a container. They no longer leak energy into every void they encounter. Instead, they develop what Jung called a protective mantle. They have faced the abyss of another person's darkness, and in doing so, they have been forced to find the light within themselves not as a metaphor, but as a literal psychological necessity for survival. The integration of the golden shadow. Listen closely to the shift that happens when an empath stops asking why did they do this and starts asking who am I now. This is the moment they begin to integrate what Jung called the shadow. For the empath, the shadow isn't just about malice. It is the graveyard of their own boundaries, their suppressed anger, and their no. In the wake of toxicity, the empath realizes that their niceness was actually a lack of self-defense. Jung discovered that when we integrate these darker qualities like the ability to be disagreeable or the capacity for cold observation, we don't become bad people. We become whole people. The post-toxic empath learns to weaponize their intuition. They no longer use their sensitivity to manage the moods of a manipulator. They use it as a high-frequency radar to detect insincerity from miles away. This is the birth of the warrior empath. They still possess a heart of gold, but they have now surrounded it with a wall of iron. They have learned that a yes has no value if they do not have a no that is equally powerful. The evolution of perception and presence. Jung often spoke about the third way, a state of being that emerges when two opposing forces, the empath's desire to love and the reality of the abuser's malice, collide. The result is a person who possesses a terrifyingly accurate clarity. You might notice that the post-toxic empath speaks less. They observe more. Jung termed this psychological maturity. They have moved past the need for external validation because they have survived the ultimate invalidation. When you cannot be broken by the person who claimed to love you, you cannot be moved by the opinions of those who barely know you. This leads to a phenomenon Jung called synchronicity with truth. The survivor begins to move through the world with a built-in lie detector. Because they have studied the anatomy of a lie in their previous relationship, they can now see the skeletal structure of manipulation in any environment at work, in friendships, or in family dynamics. They have achieved individuation, meaning they are no longer a part of a toxic system, they are a sovereign entity. They don't just spot red flags, they are fundamentally allergic to them. Their body reacts to toxicity before their mind even processes it.